AITAH for yelling at a girl with Down syndrome and her mother for coughing? I am not the original poster. That is you, Film Fever. They posted in r AITAH. Trigger warning. Child endangerment. Less than. Mood spoiler. Frustrating but hopeful ending. Less than. Original post. October 5th, 2023. I have a 14-year-old cousin with Down syndrome. She is overall a very nice girl, but she has one major issue that can't seem to be resolved. She coughs with her mouth wide open and coughs directly into people's faces. I see her pretty often as we are a close family, and this becomes an issue just about every time. I've tried staying silent, but it's a serious problem. I've addressed this with my aunt, and she just tells me to get over it because she doesn't know any better. However, I've noticed that she is not even taking the effort to try and correct her. She just sits around and lets her do it. Does not even say something as simple as, "Let's remember to cover our mouth." I've told her she needs to get it under control, but she refuses to acknowledge it, continuing to play the "she can't help it" card. The final straw for me was 2 days ago when we were visiting my other aunt who has a newborn. They gave my cousin the chance to hold the baby while sitting on the couch. She then coughed 2 huge coughs directly into the baby's face. I was terrified. I yelled, "Stop. You'll make the baby sick." My aunt told me to stop being so dramatic and let it go. My cousin then started crying. I responded with, "I'll let it go when you teach your daughter to cover her mouth when she coughs. It's not that hard." I understand that raising a child with Down syndrome is not easy. It's very difficult. I know. I just feel that this is something every child should be taught. My aunt flipped out and my cousin started crying hysterically. My aunt told me I should be ashamed of myself and they stormed out. Almost my entire family is calling me an AH, saying I was being so rude and ignorant. My grandma even said it was fine if she coughs in the baby's face because babies can't catch anything, which I know is not true. I do feel bad for the way I worded it, but this is an ongoing issue that my aunt refuses to help. AITAH? Relevant comments. A clarification. I did not say, "I understand it's hard raising a child with Down syndrome," in front of her. That was strictly for this post to clarify that I'm not saying it's easy. Notice how that part is not in quotes. You didn't need to yell. She's a product of bad raising and you could have corrected her differently. Believe me, I've tried several times with the gentle reminders and I've even tried correcting her myself. Her mom always tells me to stop every single time. Update post. October 15th, 2023. 10 days later. Original post here. https reddit.com/r/a.i.t.aa.h/s/s7tv9wivel. I also posted that to our Amethyst hole, but it got taken down. So I have a relatively scary update, and I also want to clarify some things. In the comment section of that version of the post, I said how my aunt with the baby was very silent the entire encounter. While that was the case, she was also very much pressured into letting my cousin hold her baby. My grandma and other aunt, cousin's mom, we'll refer to her as that from now on, kept saying over and over to let her hold him. She was overall reluctant and quiet, but they kept pushing. My cousin's mom even made a comment about her being ableist for not letting her hold him. She was submissive and caved in. I was also a good 10 feet away when I yelled. I want to make it clear. I yelled out of fear for the baby. Something I did not mention in that post because it felt like too much to add and wasn't necessarily relevant to the story was that my cousin has a hitting-punching problem. She is very sweet, but when she gets upset she will start hitting or even punching people. Her mom doesn't stop it because she insists she doesn't know any better, and insists hitting will help her calm down. Well, yesterday my aunt with the baby called me sobbing, telling me that my cousin and aunt came over to see the baby and was pushed into letting her hold him once again. My cousin got into a fit and started slapping the baby in the face hard. My aunt rushes over and took the baby away. She reprimanded both cousin and her mom. My cousin started crying and cousin's mom asked how dare she yell at them and kept playing the "she doesn't know any better" card. I believe she should be teaching her that it's not okay to hit a baby. My aunt kicked them out and she told me she took the baby to either urgent care, or don't remember which. No idea how that played out and I won't pry. My cousin's mom sent my aunt a message going on about how ableist she was and she knew the risk of hitting by letting her hold him. Except you pressured her into it? That's all I have so far and I'm in utter disbelief. And as for my grandma saying, babies can't catch anything, she says that she was taught her whole childhood that babies are immune to everything. No idea what that's about. This is all for now. Relevant comments. Her Down syndrome is not an excuse to behave in that way. I get that it's nowhere near easy to teach and it can get very exhausting, but some things just cross the line. Thank you so much. I had people in the r/Amethyst Hole subreddit saying there is no scenario where someone yelling at a child with Down syndrome would not be the OOP clarifies about themselves. Exactly. Some were even saying I clearly don't know what it's like being disabled or having to take care of someone disabled, but here's the kicker. I'm disabled. I'm also high-functioning autistic. Final update. October 20th. 2023. 5 days later. Final update. My aunt, the one with the baby, called me last night after she took her baby boy to the after my cousin slapped him. Apparently my grandma angrily yelled at her on the phone. She threatened her saying she better not report my cousin for slapping him or there will be dire consequences. My grandma also continued to pull the "she doesn't know any better" card and insisted my aunt should just get used to the fact that my cousin hits people and it's going to happen. My aunt was furious but kept silent. I don't know what she ended up telling the happened, but he sustained no serious injuries. After they got back home, my cousin's mom called her saying she never should have taken him to the in the first place because it wasn't that big of a deal, and that she was being dramatic. My aunt finally told me at the end of the phone call that she has decided to go and see with them and apologized to me, as that would mean leaving me behind. I told her it would not, because I've decided if these people think that my cousin should get away with assaulting babies because she has Down syndrome and refuse to help her or try to correct her behavior, then they're not worth being around. We're both going NC now. Thank you guys for all of your comments and advice. I have a long journey ahead of me, but I'm glad that my aunt, nephew and I all have each other now. Relevant comments. How's the baby? Yep, he's fine. My aunt ran over as soon as my cousin lifted her hand, so it could have been way worse. Aunt needs to report this. I spoke to my aunt about reporting it at the advice of these comments, but she's really worried about it coming back to bite her. She's worried that nothing will come of it, as it'll be very difficult to prove it was my cousin who hit the baby, and she's also worried the authorities might agree with her sister and grandma that my cousin doesn't know any better. I'm not sure what she told them in the and I'm really not one to pry. I'll definitely try to keep convincing her to report. This post serves as your regular reminder that you can be disabled and be an asshole. They're not mutually exclusive. So glad the baby is okay and they're going NC. The cousin will just be getting worse if she's being enabled like that. This needs to be reported to CPS to get the teen girl with Down's access to behavioral services and her mom supervised. This is not going to get better. Baby can't catch anything, cousin, these hands. So ridiculous. I work in special education. People like this parent suck. Neurodivergent people are very much capable of learning basic life skills. They just need a lot of reminders. It's honestly actively harmful for everyone involved to not give those reminders. The ableist people in this story are the ones who don't believe a disabled person can have a moral or social compass. Of course they can, just like every able-bodied person. But like everyone else, they need to be raised knowing what's acceptable and not acceptable. I can understand the aunt's reluctance to report it, but rule 1 of parenting is keep your kids safe. Stick to that and let the chips fall where they may. Who is voting AITAH? This really seems like an occasion where actively parenting and being consistent with messaging could make a huge difference in behavior. I did group home care for special needs adults for years. And people with Downs can absolutely learn and can absolutely choose to be an asshole. Just like anybody else. The ones with behavior issues were often enabled by their parents, and made the home's problem when the family couldn't deal with them anymore. Most of the ladies in my houses were sweethearts though. Mostly. Having Down syndrome does not make you incapable of learning or functioning like a decent human being. There's a Victoria's Secret model with Down syndrome FFS. OOP's family does not sound pleasant to be around. I don't understand who people think the OOP is going to report this to. There's nowhere to report a teen with Down syndrome hitting a baby. This shows that disabled people can sometimes be also rude as well. Good thing they decided to go and see, because it's going to get things more dangerous if not taken care of. Glad the baby is safe. First post opens with, her only major issue is not covering her mouth when she coughs, and then, after there wasn't resounding support for screaming at a girl who has already coughed, as if that's going to undo anything. The update is, oh yeah, and she habitually assaults people when she gets upset, and this time she smacked a newborn because she somehow got all worked up in a few seconds after they let her hold the baby again. Plus all these toxic enablers have doubled down. Quote, on the off chance this is real, everyone is failing that baby, including OP for being a spineless twerp who just wrung their hands after the cough was already out of the mouth. Great time to decide to take a stand for health and well-being. If the baby didn't get sick or injured, it sure wasn't because OP or the baby's parents were watching out for it. Baby already got a faceful of cough and slap. Bravo. But at least you screamed about it after the fact. One day cousin is going to hit a stranger and going to get laid out. All because everyone enabled her and didn't teach her not to do that. She has no idea there will be consequences. Cousin's mom and grandma are doing cousin a huge disservice. I know there are different levels of disability. I in particular know 2 people with Down syndrome. One of them I grew up with, and she was absolutely teachable. The other person was an adult and I don't know the full extent of his issues. But he is mean as a snake and curses out everyone around him. I would not put it past him to hit a baby. The first girl I mentioned is absolutely okay to hold a baby, because she is capable of and has been taught good behavior. Why should you let someone with hitting issues who has never mastered basic manners hold a baby? We all know this isn't the last of this tale. I suspect grandma, cousin or cousin's mom will want to connect with aunt and the baby because they're family, and demand to see the baby some more. And someone will show up to their house and sew something stupid. I hope they protect themselves. Down syndrome is a lot more of a spectrum than some people realize, and the extent of cousins ability to learn or control her behaviors may be such that she can't learn these skills. But if that's the case, then it's completely reasonable to put in hard boundaries around a newborn. I have an 8-week-old baby and work in a special school. I adore all my students, but I don't trust them to be safe with my baby, so I'm not bringing him to visit. It's not ableist to acknowledge someone's developmental levels. It's the same reason it isn't ageist to not let a 7-year-old drive.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Aracast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.